Hello! Today, MCDM launched their RPG into crowdfunding. MCDM, along with a plethora of others, announced that they were making their own RPG in the wake of the OGL scandal. Well, today, we're checking in on 3 of them to see how they're progressing and if you might want to check them out. First, the MCDM RPG. The interesting thing about the MCDM RPG is that they've been sending updates on the development to their paid Patreon and occasionally making YouTube videos. Matt Colville is popular for his running the game videos, but pivoted into developing the game videos. And these vids are interesting, and I would recommend them if you're interested in game development. For the MCDM RPG, some of you might already know a lot about this because of the aforementioned Patreon posts. But today we're going to focus primarily on what's in the crowdfunding campaign because it's least likely to change. So, the RPG design team has made it pretty clear that they are focused on their keyword design. Those keywords being tactical, heroic, cinematic, and fantasy. Tactical, heroic, cinematic, fantasy, which sounds like a genre of games in itself. The MCDM RPG, unlike 5e, isn't trying to do every genre, and they make that pretty clear. This is not about the dungeons, hex crawls, or exploration, and it is not about the tracking of things and survival. The designers are focused on drama and combat, and that combat is meant to be dynamic, with resources being spent and recharged every turn. Interestingly, they get rid of the attack roll and damage roll, and they kind of become the same thing. And because of this, there's not supposed to be a turn where a player does not do anything. No more, I swing my sword and I miss, I guess I'll end my turn. Which sounds promising to me. I think the times when a player or GM cannot advance the game state sucks the fun right out of an encounter. The monsters are also meant to follow the MCDM action-oriented design that we saw work to great success in Flee Immortals. Monsters in that design are always getting extra cool things they can do to change the combat. We will see how that works in this game. My only worry is how difficult this is to run. I mentioned in the Flee Immortals Spotlight that I enjoyed how the monsters in that book did cool stuff, but were not recommended for new DMs. Though we will see. I haven't gotten to play this game yet, but I am hopeful. And next, for Black Flag, / as it is now known, Tales of the Valiant. To me, it feels like a lot of people bounced off of Tales of the Valiant because they were expecting something drastically different from 5e, but it's not the case. Much how 1st edition Pathfinder is an iteration on 3rd edition D&D, Tales of the Valiant is an iteration of 5e, and the Tales of the Valiant system reference document released in October under the Orc license, while alpha testing was occurring. To note, these are not the final rules, and they should be updated as the rules are finalized, but you can pretty well summarize that the final rules would largely be similar to the current document. So let's take a bit of a look at it, starting with character creation. If you know how to make a 5e character, you can pretty much make a TOV character. I found the most interesting thing is race is more or less split into 2, heritage and lineage. Lineages are the choice between your character being elf, dwarf, human, etc., which will determine your age, size, speed, and give you some traits such as trance on elves or dwarven resilience. On the other hand, heritage is much more like the character's culture, and this is how TOV sort of decouples the racial essentialism that 5e and certainly older D&D had baked into their races. As for backgrounds, it's nearly identically to the new design for 1D&D and new publications that a background gets you the normal language, equipment proficiencies, but also gets you what equates to a feat, which are called talents, and honestly, everything else is pretty much 5e. And is that a bad thing? No, people love Pathfinder, and 2e is where Pathfinder really became its own game apart from D&D. Could Tales of the Valiant sort of follow a similar trajectory? Maybe. I know there are a lot of people out there that love 5e and want to play 5e, but don't want to support WotC anymore. Well, this is for you. Like I said, this is an iteration, and I think it's a great iteration of the version of 5e we got pre-2024. And last but not least, DC20. DC20 is a new system from a group run by the Dungeon Coach of YouTube. I actually wasn't aware of this until Treantmonk released a video breaking down a playtest they participated in last month. And some highlights from what's publicly available is an action economy that's actually economic, as you spend action points to do things. Of course, this might sound familiar to Pathfinder players or CRPG players, and DC20's design is leveraging these points to tempt you to do things on your turn, because repeating an action typically has diminishing returns. For example, a second attack on a turn will give you disadvantage. However, you can spend extra points to give yourself advantage, canceling it out. There's also a system that attempts to close the martial caster gap that's similar to 4e, which everyone kind of gets powers, giving each class cool stuff to do. Also, you use features by spending from mana system for casters and a stamina system for martials. The mana system allows you to spend more mana for a more powerful version of the spell, similar to sorcerer and spell points from 5e. DC20 also saw the problem with null state of missing attack rolls, so this game seeks to get rid of them as well. Your attack and damage roll are the same in DC20. I'll also caveat that my knowledge of this game is largely informed by that Treantmonk's and Dungeon Coach's video, and what else I can find online, because this alpha actually costs $15. I'm going to link it below in case you want to check it out and you would like to support Dungeon Coach and the development of this system, but I do find that to be a weird move, simply because if you buy the alpha, you're just getting the alpha. And I'm sure Dungeon Coach has the reason, like maybe this is an alternative to joining the Patreon, but I would argue letting people play the alpha is probably better. Just seems like a raw deal to me. But I do not want that to color my opinion of the system. It seems dope from all that I've seen and read, and I look forward to the crowdfunding campaign, which doesn't yet have a date. And again, much more detailed videos on DC20 are in the description. And that's been a check-in for 3 RPGs that we learned about in the wake of the OGL scandal. If you are planning on staying with 5e or not, I encourage you to go check these out. I've been a little quiet this past month because I was working on quite a large video, so if this is the kind of stuff that's a little bit smaller and easier for me to put together and you like this kind of content, let me know in the comments and I can continue making that. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I hope you go check these RPGs out and find your future favorite game.